Welcome to Nebraska Preps Postgame with Damon Benning and Jacob Padilla.
Another fantastic week of Nebraska Preps Postgame with my man Jacob Padilla. If you guys like it, I love it. You appear to like when I'm with JP. So let's get in another week. Now this will be interesting because we were in the same place. So sometimes it can get a little one-sided with our vantage point. So let's try not to agree on purpose here if we can. Can we do that? No, you're not going to go out of your way. We're pretty objective. Yeah, we're pretty objective.
Yeah. I got to see some that you didn't, and we both got to see the same. So it's good kind of having the overlap and then the different
perspectives.
Different
so like I noticed a couple of times, it was funny. You kind of prefaced this a couple weeks ago when you said, yeah, I'm kind of not the get there early. We were just talking about general times. I noticed a couple of times when you entered the Hy-Vee arena, you went to a slow jog. You were definitely trying to get to where you were going. Like a lot of times you feel compelled to be a lot of places at a lot of different times. You were not walking. You were not sauntering, let's say.
The problem is, like, you never know when games are starting early.
Yep.
Like there's some places that say, oh, they won't start more than 5 or 10 minutes early. Some just start whenever they want to.
We actually had to ask for a regular start time on Sunday, right?
I appreciate that because I wouldn't be able to start that.
Well, we had 4 of our guys that weren't there yet either. So I was like, wait a minute. We tip at 11:15. I know that everybody should be here by 10:45, but they're not. So can we chill?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we had 8 a.m. game on Sunday, and they put up like 5 minutes on the clock at like 8 or 7:50, and we had one ref at that point.
Yeah.
And heck, we didn't even have all 3 there for the start time at 8 o'clock. We had one ref tip it up while the other guys were changing their shoes. So that's great. Guys can't get there in time to have themselves ready for the jump ball. But anyway, it's just that's kind of the what I have to try to sort through as we go through these tournaments, because there's most of the time there's game after game after game when there are enough teams there that I could go to them. So I'm jumping from court to court, trying to start and get through a complete game. So I'm just kind of scrambling between one another, making decisions here and there versus, all right, do I stay here? Do I abandon this, go start another one?
So the cool thing about this, you know what I like about you though? Well, one of the many. So I knew you either had to coach. I believe it was coach. I didn't speculate, but I'm watching you from afar because sometimes I like to watch your interactions with your brother, right? I miss the brotherly sibling interaction. You gave him your pencil, pen, whatever, and the scores book to make sure that you weren't just going to trust his eye. You like handed him your tools so you could go do your thing.
And that's the nice thing, like having him with me for some of these tournaments, is when there are 2 games at the same time that I'm really interested in, like he'll go take another one, and we can knock out both of them. So I've got the numbers from that game, and then what he tells me about who played well and all that type of stuff. So it kind of allows us to spread out a little bit for these road trip weekends. So we got to see a good number of teams in track.
And if you want to further get into what Jacob Padilla does with Hale Varsity, go check out his latest piece on a new transfer from Charlotte, which is bordering on ridiculous. Now, I've known you for a long time. Even for me, knowing your personality traits, that dive bordered on ridiculous. The clips, the cut-ups, the statistical breakdowns, that was silly.
Yeah, I started doing more of those over the last year or two now with access to Synergy and figuring out screenshotting and how to clip all these things together. That one just happened to be so long because Bryce Williams is that well-rounded of a player. There's just a lot of stuff to touch on. I previously wrote one on Rink Mass, the Bradley transfer, and
it wasn't even as in-depth, and it was still good.
Yeah, and now I'm working on Aaron Eulis, the Iowa transfer point guard.
Which I'll be curious because I think we think starter experience, but I think there's a reason he kind of was on the market for a while.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, there's a little bit more there, like going in and watching the clips, so you can say, okay, I can see why they were interested beyond kind of running out of options. But also I think you can see that the ceiling's not terribly high there. But they needed the guy for that spot, and he can do some things, play in transition, run pick and rolls, that type of stuff. So there's definitely something there. It's just not the most exciting option, I think, from all the guys that they were looking at.
All right. So where do you want to start? Because we were together. It's kind of weird.
Well, I guess let's start with the team that had the best weekend that came to play down in Kansas City Classic. We're talking about down in Hy-Vee Arena. ETG, Nebraska Supreme, AEF, we're all down there. Nebraska Supreme 17U, kind of after a rough weekend down in Wichita, got off to a slow start, got some momentum back, had a good Sunday, pulled out 2 comeback wins. They went 4-0 down in Kansas City. Pat Freeman squad there. I got to watch 2 of those 4 games. They beat Howard Poley, Team Tyus, by 12. They beat VWBA by 10. They beat Marcus Demnon Elite by 15. That's the one I watched. Bon Boom.
Yeah, we were there. We watched that one, not together, but I wanted to watch that too, just to get a scouting report.
Yeah. Balanced the effort there. Bon Boom led the way. Bon Bomb led the way with 12 points. Alex Wilcoxon had 10, went 2 of 4 from 3. And he's been lights out during the spring.
I spent not quite a bit of time. I talked to him for probably 10, 15 minutes, just kind of in the stands. I just went and sat on the stairs and sat next to him. He's obviously someone that I think a lot of. And he was with Pekorski and a couple of the guys up there and Marcus Glock, and just kind of shot the breeze. Somebody's going to get a good one with him, whatever level he decides to play, because right now his options are pretty open between basketball and football.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what kind of season he has on the gridiron
as a quarterback.
As the guy, yeah. It was really interesting. Obviously, he was a backup quarterback, and then to get on the field, because I mean, Zane Flores isn't coming off the field, so went and played defensive back and made some plays over there too. So, and so he's had a great spring. Then we talked about last week, different team when Antola San Linnell plays well off that bench, had 9 points, 8 boards, hit a 3, 3 steals. Then Marcus Glock, Landon Pekorski each had 9 points. So just really well balanced. And it was kind of more the same against SSA Elite Black. They dominated 21 by 24 in their last game of the weekend. Ben Dak had 14 points, 7 boards. Jake Hilkeman had 14 points, really efficient off the bench. Marcus Glock had 11. And Eldon Turner and Landon Pekorski only combined for 9 points, but it was efficient 9 points. They had 7 boards, 9 assists, 4 steals between the 2 of them, just 3 turnovers. Like, that's what you need out of those guys. They're not going to be scoring 20 points a game, but if they're making great passes and setting guys up and getting BD lobs to the rim, getting Alex wide open threes, that's what that team needs to win.
Do you enjoy kind of watching Landon, he got to 1,000 in 3 years at Gretna, so obviously he can score the basketball. Much different role in the summer, at least as I kind of see it with this team. He seems to not really skip a beat.
Yeah. Like I said, he
doesn't have to be their primary scorer, and
he gets the most out of his ability. He plays hard. When he puts it on the deck and goes to the basket, he goes as hard as he possibly can, but not out of control. And that's the key. He makes good decisions. And again, you've got a guy like BD, huge catch radius at the basket, get in the paint, lob it up.
I'm a big Eldon Turner guy too. So, and I think his role changes a little bit. And he's one of those guys this year as a senior with that team, as he assumes a starting backcourt spot. I'll be curious to see, because he can actually score the basketball. He just kind of takes what comes to him. He has a scorer's mentality. I think he keeps it suppressed with how he's had to play these last 3 or 4 years, whether it's on his summer team or on his high school team. It's kind of the defer mode. He's very capable of going to score.
And there's difference between being able to score in Class A basketball in Nebraska and being able to score on Division I guys. So it's got to make the right decisions between, all right, this is a shot I can take around the basket versus get in there, kick it out to somebody else, get them a wide open look. So, again, like when those guys are playing like that, it's a really good team. So good weekend for them. The 16U squad went 1-3. Good win against Howard Poley, Team Tyus, 57-45. Tyson Oddbuddy had a good game, 11 points, 5 of 6 shooting, 5 boards. And Barrett Boziger added 10 points, 4 of 8 shooting, 2 of 5 from 3. and they got kind of contributions from up and down the lineup. So that was a good win for them, just to kind of, they've had a rough go of it a little bit. So it's good to see them get that win on Sunday in their first game. And then my team, my 6-man team with a 7-on-7 football player, adding depth. Jack Poppy from Donovan Trumbull was planning to play, had a track meet on Thursday, and get a phone call Thursday night. Jack had to pull up in his track meet, ended up straining his hamstring. So
you were super short-handed.
Yeah, he was not able to. So we ended up at Kobe Myers on my team, called up Jet Tomala, who is going to be North-South starting quarterback. Who I think is
at least we think.
Yeah. I mean, he'll compete for that job. He certainly was impressive in the one game I saw last year. But he'll have a chance to have a great year on the gridiron. I think he's doing 7-on-7, but he called him up and was like, yeah, sure, I'm not doing anything this weekend. So got him down there and to get us to 7. And 6'4", he helped us on defense and moved the ball and made some good plays. So had to play him a lot because, again, we had 7 guys. But so we went 1-3, although we lost by 1 to VWBA, gave up a go-ahead 3 with less than 2 seconds left. Just complete collapse. We just made so many bad decisions down the stretch. Couldn't make a free throw. That should have started off the weekend on a high note with a great win, and just couldn't quite finish that off. Then we came back and lost by 20 to a very large Marcus Denman elite team. That's very good. We bounced back, won 71-59 against We Are One. Derek Tonjes had 31 points and 12 rebounds in that game. And then we had a really, really good all Iowa attack team. We were back and forth the whole way. We were leading for much of the game. Had the lead late, then gave up a second chance bucket and 1 on a soft call. And so they go ahead by 2, make the free throw. We go down, attack the basket. Certainly looked like got fouled, but no call. And so time ran out, ended up losing by 2. But the frustrating part is we played well enough to come out of that weekend 3-1. Had we made our free throws, we shot better from the field than we did from the free throw line. Shot 53% from the field and 51% from the foul line for the whole weekend. So like that's just that hurts, knowing like what was out there, and like we're so close. We've got the pieces to be a really good team. We just haven't quite put it together just yet. And we also haven't really been able to practice. We haven't had our full squad there week after week. So it's hard to build that chemistry and kind of take care of that stuff. So hopefully this is building up to a big July once we'll have more consistent lineups and practices and whatever. But really proud of my guys, the way they stepped up again, playing with 6-7 guys, one of which didn't know any of our plays. Derek Tonjes had averaged 21 and 9, 3 assists.
It's been a pleasant surprise for you, hasn't he?
So I knew he was one of my best players. I did not know he was quite this good. Or
I think well-rounded is the word I'm looking for.
And really, he can just get in the lane anytime he wants. He's so good at the spins, the footwork, the up and unders.
He is crafty.
His balance is so good. So teams had a tough time. Shot 60% from the field. Finally got a couple of threes to go down this weekend. Kobe Myers had a huge weekend, stepped up big time, at 20 in that all Iowa attack game to kind of tie for the team lead. Averaged 14 a game on 52 from the field, 41 from 3, 4 boards, 3 assists. Owen Anderson from Millard North, one of my other big guys. He had 2 really good games and had a solid weekend overall. Averaged 12 a game on 60 from the field, 44 from 3, and just over a block a game. So, and then Trevin Wilkins continues to be a double-digit scorer more often than not. Average just over 10 a game, and
must get it
over
from Alec.
53%. Yeah, it's.
I joke.
It's so weird. Like, he's not left-handed like Alec, but he's better with his left hand.
Yeah.
So he's so good. Just some crazy finishes around the basket.
I think so. I called him Gumby a couple of weeks ago. You know what it really is? because you kind of mentioned it with Tonjes, is body control.
Yeah.
Just being on balance to contort, kind of Carter Mickish, which I think is something he does deceptively well, where guys that can control their body in traffic give themselves an advantage.
Yep. So that was my weekend. Hope we'll have a different 7-man crew this weekend, and it looks like All Iowa Attack is on our schedule again. So we'll just have to keep chipping away, trying to get better. And as our last tournament for the spring, and I'll get a break. And again, hopefully we can regroup in July and go on a tear there. But another team I got to see down there is AAF Beck, their top 16U team. They went 2-2 overall, but the 2 games I saw were the 2 wins. And they beat All Iowa Attack Elite Black 57-48. Henry Houlihan from Omaha Skutt had a great game, 16 points, 8 boards, had 12 of those in the first half. They just couldn't guard him early on. And then Lincoln Schwartz had 8 points and 8 rebounds from Elkhorn South, 4 offensive. And that's kind of what he does. Just he is all over the offensive glass because, again, they finished the weekend with a 60-57 win against Mocan Select. Trent Krogman from Papia South all the way, 14 points, 3 blocks. Hudson Newverth from Bennington had 9 points, 10 boards, including 5 offensive. And then Schwartz added 8 points and 11 rebounds, including 4 offensive. So they play with pace. They press you. They get shots up, and then they go crash that glass relentlessly with their bigs there.
So we talked about AEF. I think I maybe even tweeted this to you on social media. I can't remember because sometimes I just say random things to you that I should probably say to your face. But I think that was over the weekend and I was already back home. So that may have been like a Sunday night or something or whatever. But I think quietly, like they've done a good job. I like that roster. Like we've talked about them a couple of weeks in a row. There's just something about the way that they play. It's a good roster.
Oh, and most of those guys played together for Beck at OSA last year. So they've got that camaraderie, added a few pieces there. But yeah, it's a lot of guys that played JV, suited some varsity for some of them last year as sophomores. And guys that'll have a chance to play roles for their teams here heading into their junior year. So yeah, it's a good team. I was glad to see them down there, get another chance to look at them. Hadn't seen them since the first weekend. So kind of rounding things out with the ETG group, it was kind of a rough weekend overall. I think after the grind of 4 straight weeks, 2 straight live periods on the shoe circuit, I don't know if going down, they were kind of taken for granted a little bit what they were going to find down in Kansas City, thinking it wouldn't be quite that high level, but there were some good teams down there. And the 17s did end up going 3-1, but dropping a game down there is not quite what we expect from them. And they did not
a
look
game
good.
in which they should.
So yeah, we'll touch on it. Was a 54-57 loss to VWBA. Shot under 40% from the field, 2 of 12 from 3, 8 of 14 from the free throw line. Just nobody played well. Nothing they did on offense clicked. It's just kind of a weird game. And we've talked about this too, but I think at times when they're not getting steals, they struggle to end possessions. They struggle to defend straight up and to get rebounds. And
so yes and no, right? Because I'm kind of in agreement with you. What I wish they would do a little less is run and jump.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
because
it puts them
what you're
position.
saying, because what you're saying, it's like the second or third rotation that ends up giving up something easy.
Yep.
So they get caught in no man's land. So the no part of that is if they just picked up at half court, I think they could do a very good job of defending. But I also, to go back to your yes part of it, is when they're turning you over, they're almost unbeatable.
Yeah. So
there has to be some when to run and jump and turn you over versus, okay, we're giving up a few easies on the back end. Let's just get back and guard, because as they showed against the Sunday game, was it Denman? When they sit down and guard in the half court, they couldn't get anything, and then you get the runouts.
Yeah,
because that run was pretty impressive.
That second half was ridiculous in that. So yeah, we can get to the 3 wins now. They beat Phenom Boys Pips 76-62. Trinell Parker 12 points, 6 of 8 from the field, 3 steals, 3 blocks, and really good minutes off the bench. Obviously, the Creighton prep forward playing up. Kevin Stubblefield had 10 points. Will Cooper had 9 points. Hit 3 threes in the first half.
Good to see him find his shot from distance.
Yeah. Then 70-67 win against Howard Poly Team Tyus. Freitag wasn't there.
Yeah, no Freitag.
Yeah.
We weren't sure where he was, but I know that they were kind of interested in seeing him at least a little bit, just because he was almost going to play with ETG.
Yeah, and played against them last year down in the same event.
Hit the game winner.
But Jackson McAndrew, who Nebraska, Creighton, a lot of others have offered, was there and had a good game for them. But you guys, it was back and forth the whole way. They were down, then they got back in front. Mm-hmm. And down the stretch managed to make enough plays to hold on to win it. I know Neil Mosser went 4-4 from the line down the stretch there, led the way with 14 points, 4 assists. CJ Mitchell, I think overall had a pretty good offensive weekend. Got going a little bit, had 17 in that one on 8 of 9 shooting, hit a 3. Aiden Zickman, 11 points, 3 of 5 from 3 off the bench. And then Jane Jackson, I thought, had a relatively quiet weekend by his standards, but still 10 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals, and all those plays ended up mattering. So that was probably, I mean, competition level aside and being able to execute in the clutch, that was probably their best win of the weekend because they closed out the weekend with the 73-51 win against Marcus Denman.
In which they trailed a good chunk of the first half.
Yeah, it was, again, kind of just the sluggish guys, again, going for steals, missing, and not really getting back. And but in second half, man, things clicked. They turned it on, started defending, and shots were falling for everybody. Ended up winning 73-51. Shot 64% from the field, including 12 of 20 from 3. Had 22 assists on 27 field goals. They also had 23 assists on 26 field goals in that first win of the weekend. And it was 16 assists in the other win. So like they 16 on whatever it was. So sharing the ball, they get good looks. And Neil Monster, 13 points, 4 or 5 from the field, 3 or 4 from 3, 5 assists. Elijah Gith was really good in the second half, especially. He had 12 points, 5 of 8 from the field, 2 of 4 from 3, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. Caleb had 11 points, didn't miss a shot. Had the old break the ankles, pull up mid-range jumper in there. Maybe a slight push off, but they didn't call it on MJ.
As long as the arm doesn't get extended. It was his shoulder. So,
and CJ Mitchell, 10 points, 5 of 7 from the field, 3 assists. Jaden Jackson, 10 points, 3 of 5 from 3, 4 assists. So really, they had everybody going. I think Will Cooper had 8 points as well, hit a couple of threes. So finally looked like themselves offensively. Shots were falling. They were sharing the ball. Everybody was engaged. So it was a good way to end the weekend that way, to mercy rule a team after kind of being in a dogfight in the first half. Second half, Denman just didn't have anything for them. So finished the weekend 3-1. Fortunately, the younger teams did not do quite as well. The 16s, coming off of back-to-back really strong performances in the 3SSB, went 1-3.
With them, agree or disagree, it's about their emotional maturity.
Definitely, and shots weren't falling, and they did not react well.
But body language changes a little bit. That's going to be an interesting team to watch.
Yeah,
because they're talented.
They had a tough time getting to 60 points. The one win was the first game of the weekend against Kingdom Hoops Elite. They were down 11 with 8 minutes to play and closed the game on a 27 run. Bryson Ball hit 3 threes in the second half. Amir Martin hit another big one. And they actually got lucky because Kingdom that missed the bonus, I think it was, and went down. They got all the way to the rim with a layup, and the kid just tricked it. So that game probably should have went to overtime. Did not defend very well. But they got the win, and fortunately, they scored 40 points in their next game. Derek Rollins had 10 points, 5 boards. The team as a whole shot 35% from the field and 50 from the line. Lost 58-60 to VWBA. I did not see that one. And then lost 62-63 against All Iowa Elite Red, in which they shot 6 of 12 from the free throw line.
I wonder, free throw shooting is streaky. I wonder if that's going to be a thing this summer. You think?
My team's been all over the place. We shot 80% the previous weekend.
Yeah, it can come and go.
Shot 51% this weekend. So, and then the 15s went 1-3 as well, and they just could not make a shot in their last 2 games. So they're going to keep trying to figure some things out, keep building.
May have to make a couple roster adjustments too. It's an interesting team to watch. They maybe build around Major.
Yeah,
Mosser and see what happens.
So he had a 20-point game where he scored 17 in the second half against All Iowa Tech, kind of get them back in the game. Never really in striking distance, but so yeah, that's KC Classic.
He's been consistent.
Yeah,
right.
That's the KC Classic this weekend. Get to stay close to home. The older ETG teams are off. The 15s are playing along with the rest of us down in Lincoln for a next pro event. Get to see OSA there, Lincoln Supreme, Nebraska Supreme, ETG 15s, and a few others.
Yeah. So we'll again be in the same building as I'll be watching. But back in Omaha to see my mom for Mother's Day.
Yeah.
That's another week of Nebraska Preps postgame. That's Jacob Padilla, one of the best in the business. He may tell you he is, but he's kind of modest, so I'll speak for him. I'm ODB. That's Shane Schillerberg on the ones and twos, man. Back next Wednesday, same time. Don't you dare miss us.
A Hurrdat Sports Network production.